What is going on, everybody? Welcome to or back to Ryder's Record Collection. My name is Carl, and the other weekend here in Fort Lauderdale, we had the Fort Lauderdale Record Fair. Went there, had a good time, found some good stuff, saw some just amazing stuff. Vinyl can get pretty expensive really quick if you're a serious collector with a deep pocket. But had a great time, found some good stuff, like I said. So I wanted to do a recent arrivals from the Fort Lauderdale Record Fair, May 2022. So without any further ado, I'll show you what I got. Rounded out some holes in my collection. So here we go. So first and foremost is a 1980s compilation for a band that I have one album by. I have Toys in the Attic by this band, but this is Aerosmith's Greatest Hits. Again, 1980 compilation album released. This has some pretty iconic songs on it. Dream On, Same Old Song and Dance, Sweet Emotion, Walk This Way, Last Child, Back in the Saddle, Draw the Line, Kings and Queens, Come Together, Remember, Walking in the Sand. So this was, I'm slowly dabbling in Aerosmith. I don't know if I like any album other than Toys in the Attic enough to have a full-blown LP, so this is a great place for me to start. And again, I remember being a kid, my dad got me this CD that I used to walk around and play a lot with my Walkman, so this is going to be nice to hear this on vinyl. Something that for some reason I've never been able to find at an actual record store, but good deal at the record fair, so I went for it. So these next two I bought from the same vendor, and this guy was really cool. He had two Peaches crates full of, I think, probably his personal collection, probably just getting rid of stuff. They were all marked at $5, but I bought two. I was able to negotiate the price, but got these two from this guy. So I will talk a little bit about the cool conversation that we had. I'm flipping through the records. I don't have anything by this first band that I bought from him, Yes. And Yes is a band that I've slowly wanted to get into. And again, just never really knew where to start. This, he said, was a great place to start talking to him about it because it was the only Yes album he had in his collection. So talking to him about that as I'm flipping through the records, and I come up to this next one that I'll show you right now, which is a reissue of just an album that I've seen people talk about here in the DC, but this is Klaatu. This is 347 EST, their debut album. This was in the back of the second crate, and he looks at me and he goes, "You gotta buy this. If you're into the Beatles, the psychedelic, crazy aspect of the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper era," he's like, "definitely check this out." So I did, and this was a total blind buy. I knew nothing about this album. I recognized the album cover again from people talking about it here on the YouTube vinyl community, but this thing blew my mind. I took it home and I played it, and I can see how this could be confused for the Beatles. This came out in 1976 under, again, the band's name is Klaatu, but people thought it was a reunited project by the Beatles. And this is on Capitol Records, which I'll show you. In Capitol Records, they didn't say anything one way or the other. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna ride this out." So with it being on Capitol, and with just the times and the way that this sounds, people thought the Beatles were coming back together. But this, if you have not heard of this album, I definitely recommend checking this thing out. This thing blew me away. It is so good. And again, like I said, I bought this album in conjunction with that one. This is Yes. This is their album Close to the Edge. This is 1972. This is the first Yes album I have in my collection. I've been enjoying it so far. I really don't know much about Yes as a band. I know the song Roundabout, and I know that I saw them get inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was pretty cool, which sparked my interest in them. So Yes, Closer to the Edge, and that Klaatu 347 EST. Killer finds from a super nice guy. I had a great conversation with him. Really enjoyed interacting with that particular gentleman there. Hopefully I see him at another record show going forward. And throughout there, I just kept finding killer stuff. This was another guy that had a couple bins that I went and looked at, and originally just pulled out this album. This was a good deal, and I never really see this in the wild, but this is John Lennon, Imagine. This is his second solo album post the Beatles that has, How Do You Sleep, that Paul McCartney track that he just bashes him on. Came with the original inner sleeve. So stoked to get that. Talking to this guy, he's like, "Oh, well, I got a couple Beatles things if that's something that you might be interested in." Guy had a lot of Beatles stuff, a lot of solo Beatles stuff as well. But it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll take a look at it. And at first he showed me both these compilations, which I have, both the red and the blue one. So I sort of passed him by, and he's like, "Oh, no, definitely look inside." This is, I believe it was an 80s reissue. They did this with the blue and the red greatest hits albums. They pressed them on the red vinyl. So this I did not have. I could not find on the red vinyl. Always had it on the standard black. I have the blue on the blue vinyl and the white album on the white vinyl from those 80s reissues. So this was the one that I was missing. So that was a nice little hole buttoned up in my collection. Just something cool to have, the red greatest hits on the red vinyl. So that, along with that John Lennon, was a nice little welcome to the collection. And I don't have anything solo stuff by John Lennon, so this will be a nice little dive into his solo work. I think he's one of the better lyricists of the Beatles. I like him and Paul McCartney working together, but he's got a more rugged rock sound than Paul's more polished pop solo stuff. So I'm excited to spend a little more time with that Imagine album. So this next thing, I went there wanting some electric light orchestra, some ELO, and I don't know, ever since I saw that second Guardians of the Galaxy movie with Mr. Brightside playing and Groot dancing around, I really wanted them. So I found this album, and this actually has Mr. Blue Sky, not Mr. Brightside, but Mr. Blue Sky on it. But I originally wanted to get a greatest hits, so I went and I found this for, I think, like $2 or something. I paid for it, double LP, sleeves kind of beat up, but the vinyl's in great shape, cleans, plays really well, sounds really good, but it's not the greatest hits. So the next booth I went to after getting this, they had a greatest hits, so I did not get the greatest hits because, again, the only song I really wanted was Mr. Blue Sky, so I figured I'd start here with ELO and get into ELO, but this is a cool little find for, like I said, like $2. So, you know, you can't beat that. That's the best thing about these vinyl fairs or these record shows, is you just get some killer stuff for super good prices. It's, you know, it's worth the time spent digging. It's a little overwhelming, though, I will say that. This one in Fort Lauderdale is in a like a banquet hall of a hotel, and it's just, my attention span isn't that good to spend hours and hours digging. This was a nice little hour and a half spent. So anyway, we'll get back to it. So this next one was also a steal. It's not in the greatest shape. It's actually pretty beat up, but this is an album that I absolutely adore. I saw this band in concert recently. I have a reissue of this album, but I really wanted an original. And this is not the original. This is a second pressing, 1969, but this is the Zombies Odyssey and Oracle on the green date label. So this is a nice find. Again, the sleeve is shot, big old seam split at the top and the bottom. It's barely being held together. The vinyl is BG, maybe good plus at some ports, but for the price that I got this for, I negotiated with the guy for a bit. He said it's been at a couple shows, he hasn't been able to move it, so got it for a steal. And even though it's not in great shape, there was another one there that was minty, really nice, but they were asking way too much money for it. So I'd rather protect my wallet and have a somewhat beat up copy than an empty wallet with a really nice copy. But that's just my point of view. But the Zombies Odyssey and Oracle, I was blown away when I found this one, and I could not be more excited. This is another one of those things that I've never been able to find in the wild for as long as I've been looking for records. So super nice to find that. Great album. If you have not heard that, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a mind-blowing album. And coming into these last two here, I am slowly getting into jazz. I don't claim to be a jazz expert. I just watched a really good vinyl tag the other day, a jazz vinyl tag that I thought about doing, but then I'm like, wow, I don't have half the entries for this. So very new guy to jazz, but I do really enjoy John Coltrane. So this was in somebody's jazz bin, so I figured I'd pick it up. A little bit of a blind buy, but it sounds really good. John Coltrane with Kenny Burrell. Kenny Burrell's playing the guitar with him. The vinyl on this is fantastic, super good. The guy cleaned it prior to the show, so good, just easy, flowing. I believe this was recorded in the 50s, late 50s, maybe early 60s, but this is before A Love Supreme and all that stuff, so it's pretty mellow, low-key, nice jazz music, saxophone accompanied by guitar, so nice little blind buy. Just like I said, slowly building up the jazz collection here, so yeah, why not? And last, but certainly not least, I found a grail there, like an absolute grail. I mean, that Zombies thing, it's a grail. Not the greatest grail because it's a little beat up, but this is an absolute gem of a grail. And this is a 1980 Japanese pressing of the Jimi Hendrix experienced, Are You Experienced, with the original cover that it came with. There is the Obi strip right there. And again, you know, what the original album cover looks like, but the LPs on this, it sounds so good, and it just, they look like they've never been played. So this was the absolute all-time epic find that I got. This was something that I wanted going into there. I made a point to specifically look for this album with this cover because I'm a sucker for Jimi Hendrix, and this album is highly underrated. He's really stretching his legs here, and Voodoo Child, the full-on 15 minutes of it is just fantastic. And I played this yesterday. Whew, this album is a heater. It sounds so good. This pressing is beautiful. I'll show you the labels because, again, this is the second Japanese pressing that I have in my collection. Of those 1980s ones, the other one I have is the Doors' Greatest Hits. But man, they look so cool. This is on the Polydor label, but to focus in there, you can see all that Japanese writing and whatnot. And again, the vinyl itself just looks untouched after all these years. You know, for a 42-year-old record to look and sound this good, this is why we do it. This is why we're in this hobby. You have a beautiful piece of music like this that's just preserved, and you play it, and you drop the needle, and you just hear woo, all the noises that the artist intended to hear. It's fantastic. So, you know, short little video. I just wanted to show you guys what I got. I had a lot of fun digging around at this record fair. I've got some more videos coming out here soon. I'm going to try and talk a little bit more gear, a little bit more practical stuff, not just showing off records, because that's what we all do, and it's a fun way to learn about new music. But I want to talk about a little bit of gear, provide a little bit of advice. So going forward, we'll have some more videos like that coming out. If you like this video, please throw it a like. If you like the channel, please consider subscribing. It means a lot. I recently, like I said, passed 300 subscribers, and I really appreciate that. The next goal is 400, and I'll get there eventually. But again, if you like this, please subscribe. If you like the channel, please throw this video a like and tell a friend. And until the next time, happy trails, happy finds, have some fun, spin some wax, and I'll talk at you soon. Cheers. I'm all alone. I need your help.